on CNN, TechCrunch, Mashable, the Next Web, and more. He leads teams, coaches startups, spends time with his wife and 2 daughters. He's currently the partner and chief strategy officer at the Iron Yard, technology accelerator, incubator, and code school. John's been blogging since 2001, 13 years ago. Like 2001 doesn't sound like that long ago, but it's like 13 years ago. I'm 31 now, and I was only 18 then, so that's a long time. So anyway, give it up for John Saddington.
All right. Thank you for the intro. Sounds very familiar because I wrote it.
Yeah, add that a little bit.
I know. Today's been one of those days where everything has gone entirely to shit. I gave myself a good 120 minutes to get here, and it took like all 120 minutes, and I was late. So, and then, the day started out pretty crappy to begin with. And what's so fascinating is that I have 4 MacBook Airs, and this is not the one that has the slide deck. So it's just like today is being awesome. So we're going to go through a somewhat different slide deck, but it'll be just as cool. We'll go through it pretty quickly to kind of open up the QA. I'm much better at that anyway. I'm not a professional speaker. I am an engineer. So, and so it should be fun. Is that cool? We're all agile here, right?
Yeah.
All right. I probably should drink a lot of alcohol too, but I only drink gluten-free stuff. So.
Cider.
Yeah, I know. I need some serious cider. And then you're recording this, so I only have 2, sweetie. All right. So yeah, I've had a pretty cool career. I'm going to go through this really quickly. This is just to give you some context and some background. This is my most important startup. I've had a bunch of really neat ventures, but at this is my pride and joy. My littlest is 3. She's insane, and my 7-year-old thinks she's a princess all the time. And this is my favorite picture of all time. I don't own a business suit. This is how it usually is. This is after, if any of you've ever done a family portrait session, like they're 10 hours of hell, and this is at like the 9th hour, and of course, I'm hating my life. And of course, this comes out as like the best one, right? So there's some irony there. I'm at Saddington on Twitter. I need more Twitter followers. No, I don't need more Twitter followers. I have enough. I have a twin, South Korean twin. These are some of the companies that I worked for. I was an engineer for most of them, and then I was an executive for the top 2 at a very young age. I don't know what the fuck they were thinking. The CIA was very interesting. But in August of 2007 is where I began to experiment with entrepreneurship and ventures. I was tired of working for the man. So, and many of you are still doing that. So I pity you. But at some point, hopefully, maybe Startup Weekend. I'm headed to Spartanburg Startup Weekend right after this talk, and mentoring and keynoting and helping those teams. So it's going to be awesome. Good on you. I lead a team called the Iron Yard. We are 3 accelerators, 3 co-working environments, and we have 3 code schools. We teach full stack engineering. Give me 3 months, I'll make you a full stack engineer, and you get a job when you leave. So if you're interested in something like that, it'll be the hardest thing you'll ever do because we kill you. It's kind of birth you out of those ashes in 3 months. But we guarantee a job after 3 months, and we're batting 100%. Not a single person is not gainfully employed. We teach JavaScript, iOS, and Rails, Ruby. That's the ironyard.com. I've got some cards. I'm not a business card person, but my aunt printed out some really nice ones, so she has asked me to get rid of them. That's a venture-funded project. I have another one that's an iOS app. It's called Pressgram. That's venture-funded. That's really cool. competitor to Instagram. We can talk more about that at some point maybe. But that's Pressgram, gr.am. And then I'm working on a OSX Mavericks application for desktop publishing, which is very much applicable to tonight. This has been 12 years in the making, but I finally had enough time on my hands to build it. So I'm building that. That's fun. That's at desk.pm, desk publishing machine. I get like the coolest domains. As you can tell, I just threw the slide together like 30 seconds ago, so there's a picture of my wife again. I'm a Georgia Tech student. I've got 2 masters at Dallas Seminary. I love to blog and I love video games. All right, so remember, this deck is not really the right one. I threw this together. I really like video games though. World of Warcraft. Yeah. When I do something, I go all out. So I was like class leader. Like no one's shaking their head. They're like, "You're a loser." Anyway, it almost cost me my marriage, so I don't recommend that. All right, so let's talk about blogging. Lots of counseling, lots of therapy. Totally recommend it. Been married 9 years. We're gonna make it. All right, so I love blogging. I mean, I've been doing it for 13 years. And I guess what this presentation will be. Who here has a blog? Let's start there. Okay. Who doesn't have a blog? Raise your hand. Why? I think that's the big question that I want to challenge you with. And for those who do have blogs, I want to further accelerate and motivate you to continue to write, because it's been a fundamental part of my career. Writing for so long, it has opened doors that should never have been opened. And so I want to encourage you to write. There's something fantastical about it. I started in 2001, and that was there was no really content management system, so it was really uploading static HTML files to the server. And I was writing about the products that I was building. I thought it was cool. It was more like documentation that was published. So it was really weird. But I was writing about that and the girls that I were. I mean, I wrote 1 year, 3,248 posts in a calendar year. That's an average of 9 a day. But the most important thing is that blogging has accelerated everything in my professional career. And so if I can, at least through this slide deck, and then we'll have some good QA, and we can talk about anything you want. I want to demystify your excuses of why you're not writing to begin with, and for those who aren't writing consistently. I've heard it all, I've seen it all. So if I can encourage you to write more, then I think this meetup will be an incredible success outside of the personal pan pizzas and the beer. Like, man, my wife is a bulldog, by the way, so I guess she understands that. All right. So what has a blog done for me? I've gotten partners from a blog, literally. One of my last venture I exited last year was a WordPress-based company. My first partner was a commenter on my blog in the late 90s. I thought he was a troll, so I kind of blacklisted his IP. But he became a fast friend, and I moved my wife and my daughter and my pregnant wife and my daughter into their basement to bootstrap the company. I mean, so it went from a troll commenter to partner. It's amazing. I've raised venture capital, not directly, but it's introduced and opened doors for me to do that. I've raised almost over $13 million now for 4 or 5 ventures. I've gotten free office space. That's a really cool story. Very quickly, venture capital firm out of Australia and Hong Kong made their first buy on the stateside. It was Atlanta. They bought the old M. Rich building downtown, historic downtown, 5 Points. Then they needed someone to fill it. They Googled co-working in Atlanta, and I've visited every co-working spot in Atlanta. I incubated a company in a co-working spot once. And they found my blog, because I've just been writing about co-working. And they said, we'll give you a year, $50,000 if you just work there. And I was like, yes. And it was awesome. I got free office space for my startup of 7 for a year, and $50,000 in TI. I mean, that's fucking awesome. Public speaking. Anyone here is like a professional communicator? like me. No, I'm just kidding. You can make some serious money that way. You guys know that, right? Like, I experimented with public speaking 1 year, like as a serious kind of profession or project or whatever. I made a shit ton of money that year. You can make, like, for someone, you can make $6,000-7,000 for 90 minutes. But I'm on the low end, like John Maxwell. Who knows John Maxwell? He makes $45,000 for 90 minutes. Bill Clinton makes $90,000. Now he's Bill Clinton, so. But $90,000 for 90 minutes, that's freaking awesome. So, but blogging has allowed me to create opportunities for me to public speak, which is financially very nice because you just talk. Book deals. I'm an editor at Wiley Publishers, the largest technical publisher in the world, and they found me because I just talked a lot about servers and hosting for a while. So the web hosting for dummies that came out a few months ago, that was my last editorial project. So they don't pay for shit, so don't do that. But that's cool. Book deals is a cool deal. Customers, clients, obviously jobs. The most important thing is freedom. Blogging, because it creates doors for you, it means that you can say yes to better opportunities and no to the really crappy ones. For those who are in the contracting world and who does contracting, I mean, 9 out of 10 of your clients are absolutely crap, but they pay the bills. But blogging helped fill that gap in a way that I really had never experienced. So it gave me some margin. It's a very fascinating concept. All right, so the excuse now I've pretty much stacked the deck in favor of blogging, period. So if I just left you with that, you should just go blog. I mean, you should just go do it. But here are the major excuses and myths that all of you have encountered. I don't have enough time. Oh, that's bullshit. I don't know what to talk about. Well, that's also the same thing. And no one will come and read my stuff. Well, that's also a myth. I'm not going to put time in there because that's always Luke's background. All right, so I'm going to deconstruct each one so that you have no excuse when you leave these doors to not go start one and then just be awesome. So, time. I believe that you can have an incredibly compelling, content-rich, effective, vocational, level-upping blog in 15 minutes a week. You guys have 15 minutes a week. I think there are a couple ingredients. One is that you need to schedule it in. I don't even have to know. I don't know any of you really, except I know you in the back, and you. But your calendars. If you open your Google Calendar, they're a mess with schedules, right? With meetings, you schedule stuff all the time. But very few people have actually scheduled in writing. That's so strange to me when it can do so much. Well, you should just schedule it. And schedule things, create habit. Who here works out, exercises, right? That's legit. I lost 29 pounds last year. I was a really hefty Asian, last year. There were some major medical challenges. I lost 29 pounds last year, but I had to schedule in, hire some help. I got some serious help, which has built a habit, right? So now I do it by myself, which is amazing. My wife still thinks it's amazing. I still think it's amazing. You build a habit, and then you see it as an investment. I mean, all of us here have heard the starting in an elementary school. Remember the first time someone taught you about compound interest, right? Best time to invest was yesterday. Not yesterday, it's today, right? In 20 years, you have $1 million. You can invest $50 every other week. It's all of us have heard that, right? Yeah, not right. None of us have done it. But for the few things that we do invest, there is a significant return. And again, you just never know with the internet. All right, so demystified time. All of you have 15 minutes. You know how to schedule. You know what investment is. That's why you're here, right? Okay, so the next one is content. So what do I write about? Well, you write about your experience. There's a lot of things here, but unique thing about you is your story. You've heard that probably 1,000 times too. But when you sit in front of that editor, you think, what should I write about? Your mind starts following through models and SEO and all these different strategies and tactics, and you really remove your own uniqueness from the story. And it's just you. There's only one of you. And as fundamental and as banal and mundane as that sounds, that's where I go back every time. You know, I'm going to write something about tonight's event. I have no idea if it's unique because I'm sitting on top of my chair and you're not. And that's it. That's all you need to write about. And you have challenges every day that are interesting. If you're a developer or designer, I mean, code snippets or design files and just examples, that's so easy. That'll take 30 seconds. You know, just say, hey, I'm working with this challenge. I can't seem to compile this object. Bam. What the fuck? And then you hit publish. You're done. Like, you are a blogger. You know, you're messing with Photoshop and you're caught in that 1,000th layer, right? Here's who's done that. And then, Photoshop crashes, right? And then you just boot up your internet. It's like, I hate Photoshop. Must move back to fireworks. No, just kidding. And that's your blog post. I mean, that's so easy. It just takes an intentionality. Your perspective is incredibly unique and incredibly volatile and incredibly attractive. Everyone has an opinion. And although many of us are very opinionated silently, it is much more entertaining when you share that opinion publicly to the worldwide internet. And so I just want to encourage you that you have a unique experience, you have a unique perspective, and it's not only shareable, but other people share in it. And that's how you draw traffic and interest. You have a question?
You have a question. I have a question about perspective.
Yeah.
So, don't you have any, you share a lot of personal things on your blog.
I do.
For the average person, concerned at all about sharing things that might be unpopular to future employers or might lead someone to discriminate against you in a way in the future?
Well, that's why we have discrimination laws in the U.S. at least. But
which are super effective.
Right, I know. I don't know, if you're sitting in this room, then you generally have a fairly progressive perspective about work. Although you might be working in an incredibly non-progressive environment, the fact that you're at a meetup means that you understand that there's a fundamental shift in how work is being done at a philosophical and practical level. And the people that you want to work with and for, right, they share that progressive perspective. They care very little about your religion. They care very little about whether you're married or have kids or you've been divorced 5 times. They care, do you fit with my culture, and do you do incredible work, right? That's what a good employer should do. Those are the people, that's how I try to lead my companies and what I counsel our portfolio companies. That do they fit your culture, and can they do incredible work? All the rest is just, those are talking points, stuff you talk over a good glass of beer. So, that being said, I don't think you should fear necessarily being open and transparent on your blog. I think it, in fact, makes you more attractive. I mentor high school students at my church, and I know that's weird just by itself. Mostly, I mean, the guys, so I get an idea of what my 2 girls are going to have to interface with. So it is strictly reconnaissance. But what I try to tell them, and I encourage everyone I meet that they should start writing even as a high schooler, is because when they walk through high school and when they go to college, they're trained to be mediocre because they are trained to take everything the same, just like everyone else. And the only distinctive on that piece of paper that we call a resume is your first and your last name. And it's an unfortunate consequence of a terrible educational program and culture. But when an employer looks at you and they say, wow, you took physics just like everyone else? Wow. No, they say, they're going to Google your name. And they're going to see if you have a perspective that is not mediocre, that you have an opinion, that you can think independently, that especially as a software programmer or if you're in technology, that you really give a shit about your craft. And a few of them have begun to write in high school, and it makes them so competitive, it's unbelievable. They get calls, even as high schoolers, to do work. And that's so cool. And they never thank me because they're douchebags. But imagine leaving college and having a huge archive of material. That's literally your portfolio, your thoughts, your perspectives, your work. It makes you not mediocre. It makes you very unique. So you can apply that to where you are today in a very crowded market of web developers, web designers, copywriters, social media gurus, and strategists. And it's very you are stacked against mediocrity. If you start writing, it's a significant signal of your differential. Did I just soapbox? Yeah. Good question, though. I don't even remember the original question. Yeah.
Okay, I have two questions. One is, in general, are there better platforms and worse platforms? I mean, I know there's some free stuff out there. And
yeah, I want to get to that.
Okay. And the other one, interaction. Like, how do you foster interaction on your blog? How do you
I don't know.
comment?
I don't know.
No idea.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I do know, but it is vastly less important. Most of you are thinking 10,000 miles ahead of, well, if I have a blog, I need the right theme, I need the right plugins, I need the right hosting environment, I need the right strategy, I need the right number of categories and tags, I need a hierarchy. Bullshit. You need to open the editor, write, and then hit publish, and then go get a shower. Like, that, because I've been doing it for so long, that's the only thing that matters. Is most people get hooked up on all the technicalities of strategy and S-U-fucking-O. Like, none of that matters if you can't hit publish. Like, I try to, that's my only, like, real soapbox. It's just publish, and it'll make a world of difference. All right, so content pictures are just obvious. That's so easy. Like, who here has an Instagram account, right? But what if you just took one and you didn't actually publish it to Instagram? Instead, send it to your email and then just publish it on your blog. A little bit more time, but now you own it, you retain it, you published. Done. I mean, so easy. So you have no excuse for not having content. All right. Readers, the last myth is no one will come, and that's stupid too. Your coworkers will read your stuff. Why? It's because you just became incredibly competitive. I work in some of the largest companies on the planet, and the moment someone does something out of tune or different, it's one-upmanship. You're going to get a higher review. Your coworkers are going to read your shit because they're thinking that person or you knows something dramatically different. So at least you'll have some readers. Interested parties, again, a la the high school example. We have recruiters who are trying to recruit my high school kids. I mean, that's just stupid. But interested parties who are looking for your expertise for whatever reason are going to find you because Google is an amazing tool and it finds you. There's some wizardry there. It's Harry Potter shit. I don't even know what that means. And the internet, like the internet is the internet. It's shocking. My father worked off on the line packaging Band-Aids for Johnson & Johnson for 15 cents an hour. And then he actually worked from the line to the senior VP of Global and then the CEO of one of the partner B2B companies. So he was working with Johnson for 37 years. I had 37 jobs by the time I graduated college. But, the internet is a wild world, and there's no rhyme or reason, and people will just find you. we're in a room of your peers where you are in, let's be honest, in competition with each other in many different ways. The challenge is that because you're in a room of peers who are generally on the same hunt, if you will, it's very difficult for you to remove yourself out of this environment and see how incredibly different you are. The fact that you're spending time on a Wednesday night at a meetup with complete strangers, listening to a somewhat strange Asian from Atlanta talk about blogging, means that you have a different perspective of life. And stranger things have happened, my friends. Like, the internet is a crazy world, and they'll find you. But you will. The fact that you're here and the fact that you hit the publish button means you are way, way beyond your competitors. I met a recruiter yesterday who's trying to recruit some of our students who haven't even finished the class yet, or haven't even started the class yet, or I don't know what she was thinking. I said, I'm trying to Google her name, and I'm like, so I meet her, and anyway, she doesn't even have a Facebook page, she's not even on LinkedIn, or she has LinkedIn, she doesn't have Twitter, she doesn't have a blog, and I looked at her and said, who are you? And she just doesn't exist to us, anyway. Alright, so now I have demystified and deconstructed and removed all of the excuses that you might have or might not have for blogging. It's time to execute. Entrepreneurship and startup is all about execution. What you're going to do is you're going to choose one of these 4/5. You're going to choose one, you're going to go. WordPress.org is the self-hosted. WordPress.com is free. It'll take you 2 minutes. Tumblr is free, although 90% of that is porn, if you're cool with that. Tumblr.com, that totally works. Jekyll and Octopress are for some more of the geeks. I know there are a few of you here. But if you're a developer and you like that, I would probably recommend a few others, actually. Now, Subtle. It's heard of Subtle. SBBTLE.com. Dustin Curtis and I don't know if I should be saying that. Give me a month before you post that. But he's releasing an API that's not publicly available, and so we're talking about how we can create that. It would be awesome. And Medium.com is pretty legit. Evan Williams, founder of Blogspot and Twitter, is working on a new blogging platform, Medium. It's been up for a while, but that's a pretty cool place to blog too. So that answers your question. The answer to the question is there a best one? Is a terrible question. The best one is the one that you sign up for and that you actually use. It really doesn't matter. I'm not dogmatic about an implementation because most people never get to that stage. They're just like, I don't know what. I'm like, you fool. All right, so execution. All right, so no more thinking. Like, you've done enough thinking for the day. It's 7 o'clock. The beer's starting to kick in. You don't need to think. You just need to do. You have to commit to blogging because it's incredibly helpful for your personal and professional career. Schedule it in just like you schedule everything else in life. And then you have to go do it. I don't know, homework. I guess I give you homework, but the homework is to go do it. All right, finally, just kind of to recap this incredibly strange presentation, is that there is a big opportunity cost if you don't. I've tried to express very quickly some of my experiences with blogging. It really doesn't even scratch the surface of what my blog has afforded me, both financially, but then also an opportunity and time. It's been really cool. There's a small personal cost in comparison to the opportunity cost. I'm asking for 15 minutes a week. That's one. Even if you spent half of your time watching Real Housewives of Atlanta and do this instead, I'm a fan. Andy Cohen's the shit. Anything that he produces is awesome. Your brand and your future, I wouldn't say depends on it because that would be crazy talk, but and in many ways it will make your brand and your future more distinct, especially if technology is part of how you make a living and income. And again, just reiterating, I mean, you never know. The stories I could share about blogging, it's really nuts. It doesn't make sense, but you won't know unless you try, type of deal. I know your dad told you that, like when you're trying out for soccer for the first time. But you just never know. Like blogging is, you never know. But for 15 minutes a week, why not? Do for 3 months. 15 minutes a week, 3 months. See what happens. Thanks for not sneezing. Because if you're like me, then beer makes you sleepy. That's my contact information and Twitter. That's honestly it. I had another cooler presentation, but that's on my other notebook. So that's the end of the show. We've got tons of time for questions, and we can cover anything from blogging to software to entrepreneurship to, I don't know, my choice of jeans. Black is really cool. So yeah, so thanks. Any questions? Yes.
So do you do your blogging under a personal brand, or like does the Iron Yard have a blog?
That's a great question.
I guess I have sort of a vague idea question of personal versus company blogging.
That's a great question. I've gone through a number of iterations. I've gone through under like a brand name for me. I've blogged for companies. I mean, the Iron Yard specifically. The Iron Yard has a blog for each campus. We have 5 campuses, either accelerators or co-working environments or the code schools. So we have a blog dedicated to each campus. That's how we've chosen to implement that, because each campus is its very own entity in a lot of ways. It's geographically centric. But for me personally, I've decided to just blog on my own name. My domain name is easy. It's John, JOHN, .do, or .do. I'm settled with that. It's memorable because most of you won't forget it now that I've told you. It just encompasses everything that I do. What I came to the conclusion, though, a few years ago was that this depends on, like, if you have a spiritual perspective of this or not, but it is hard to divorce who you are and what you do. I'm not saying that is a good or a bad thing, but in our digital world, they're pretty much the same thing. Because it's the only way that people interface you. So they see you do stuff on the internet. Again, not a qualification of good or bad or evil or whatever. So I realized that is a tension I'm willing to live with. So I will write under my own blog about personal stuff, my family, the fact my mental challenges. I have OCD, ADHD. I'm autistic. I have Asperger's. I will talk about my companies and my projects, and I will talk about video games. It's it's me. As far as the internet can tell, that is me. And that, if you want to call that a brand, if you want to call that a strategy, you go ahead and do that. I'm not sure what that is, but it is me as best as I can do. And we all know that the digital self is only a shadow of who we really are. Most people outside the incredibly stupid trolls get that. But I decided that's what I'm going to do. Like it or love it or hate it or whatever it is, it's me. Now I've been doing this for a long time, so I'm sort of like jaded and just, jaded, I suppose. But it's very difficult to write for more than one blog. I mean, it's difficult to write for one blog, period. So you might as well just write for one. You might as well just combine the two. I don't know if that's helpful. But it was a stab.
But piggybacking off that, when you're blogging for a brand, would you show your authorship? To what degree do you want to personalize that?
That's a great question. Again, it depends on your company. If you run the company and you're principal and you're kind of the owner, then you can do whatever the hell you want. And it always makes sense, right? But if you work for a large enterprise, they typically establish those guidelines and policies. I try to counsel companies and organizations to always provide authorship details, because you might be selling a product or a service, but you're always selling yourself as a part of that deal. Let's just be fair. Blogging is marketing. Let's not try to walk around that or tiptoe around it. Blogging is marketing. At the end of the day, it's marketing. As altruistic as you might be, it functionally is a marketing system. So you might as well market and try to engage as personally as you can.
You said earlier that in relation to readership, that people just find you because of the internet. Now, from your experience in blogging, have you found techniques or strategies to get more readers in a quicker amount of time, or is it mainly just following?
I'm gonna turn this back on, right, bro?
Yeah, sure.
All right. So as I've said, I've been doing this for an incredibly long time, and you can go after this at your own pace. But part of my favorite thing is I love education. I have a master's in education. I just love giving back. I love giving away stuff. I think it's a good philosophy. I don't believe necessarily in karma, but I just think it's a good fucking idea to give away stuff. So on my blog, John, that video, startup weekend in Spartanburg, what? Startup in 3 days? Hell yeah. So I have this thing called Goodies. It's a page, and I've written some epic series on tactical things for blogs and strategies. For example, I've got a starting kit, the ultimate WordPress launch guide. This is like my epic of epicness series. Let's open up a couple more. How to make money blogging. I tried professional blogging for a year. Without even trying, I made $54,000 that year just from the blog itself. That was boss. SEO, personal branding 101. These are some of my big hitters. But the ultimate guide to launch a WordPress-powered blog. That's 55 posts. I walk you literally from installation to the settings and everything. The Blogger's Guide says SEO. This one's a huge heavy hitter. That's 41 posts. I go from the cursory level to assuming you know nothing to the deep technical levels of like canonicalization. Who understands what canonicalization is? Right? You guys are weird. Most normal human beings have no idea that even is an idea. But canonicalization is priority, how Google sees priority on your content, and how it's a signal for duplication. So I go through that. Personal branding is one of my favorites. How do you create your online equity that extends? That would be a good kind of follow up to this talk in a lot of ways. So that's 18 posts, and I give away some pretty cool shit like free landing pages that I've created that you can download for free that I've used historically. I just love to give stuff I make for myself that I retire. I just kind of give away. So yes, to answer your question, do I have strategies? I've written a shit ton of strategies. Amazing blog content. This one's also trafficked thousands of times a day. That one's 45 posts. Some of the big ones are internal linking and PageRank, which just combines technical components of Google's rel no follows, and I walk through it assuming you're an idiot, because I was for a while. Affiliate linking, anchor texting. One of the great ones is
So was this put in order? And it wasn't done sequentially, I presume, either.
No, I actually had somewhat of a rubric that I wanted to execute against over the years, and so I just kind of wrote it. I don't know. One of the big ones of all time, one of the most is /images. And this is the definitive guide for using images on your blog post. It's 8,000 words. I go through the legal implications of using images, with the difference between royalty-free and stop, models of how they make money, the sites, example sites, how to use Google for free images without getting sued, or advanced settings in Google. Who knows about advanced image searching? A few, and then Creative Commons and different attributions, and make sure you get that right. I mean, so this one's like a huge post. But so what I've tried to do is, outside of this very kind of motivational talk, is I've created a library of stuff I'll provide to fill in the gaps if you're interested. But I guess I want to make sure that you understand that none of this matters if you don't hit publish. Like there's a serious prioritization. If you can't hit publish, don't worry about SEO. And it's intuitive and obvious and a logical if-then. But don't worry about any of this until you get a good rhythm of just getting comfortable with hitting the blue publish button. Does that make sense?
Does your library talk about your philosophy in relation to other social media? Like you said, what makes you exist?
I do talk about that in the personal branding, I believe, series. I think I do. If not, you can just actually use the Google search. I don't know what. I've definitely written about it.
But how do you rank it? How do you rank your blogging versus other forms of social media?
I mean, your blogging is the most important. Everything else is secondary. I don't have a Facebook account. I don't have an Instagram account. I don't have a Pinterest account. I mean, I do, but I don't use them. So I have like one follower on Facebook because I developed Facebook, so I need to develop an account. I have an Instagram account because I use their API, but the only social network that I use is Twitter. Something interesting happened a couple years ago when it was decided that it was far better to be incredibly good at 1 than mediocre at 10. And so I experimented, and I deleted all the shitty social networks out there. I said, what would happen if I'm not giving up compromising my blog? That's my base station. But what would happen if I just spent all of my time investing in one social network? And I went from like 20,000 followers to like 200,000. And it was simply because I was more invested in that network and I was doing it better. And so... That's going to be great footage. So the object lesson is that the web respects excellence, I think. You're not reading blogs because they're mediocre. You're not following people because they seem to be mediocre people just like you. You're following people who seem to know what they're doing and are very far advanced in their career, where you want to be. And the only way that they've gotten there is they've chosen very distinctly what they're going to do and what they're not going to do. And my mentors helped me see that in a lot of different ways. So I said, okay, well, fuck all the rest. I'm just going to do Twitter. And now that thing is like a monster. And I mean, it's 100x. I don't even know.
So would you see value in having LinkedIn and other accounts to speak toward your blog?
No. I have a LinkedIn account. LinkedIn is stupid, but I have a LinkedIn account because there are some systems that they force a login. So I've deleted that thing 100 times, but I always have to sign up because I can't access a site for whatever reason. So I have a LinkedIn account, but if in a perfect world for me, I would have my blog and Twitter, and that's it. That's it. Life is so complex already, especially with 2 girls. Mm-hmm. Like, I don't need any more distraction. I don't need to think, wow, well, Twitter says it's 140 characters, and I always need to leave space for my @ domain for a reply, and and let me do that. It's always got to be sweet but sarcastic, but almost begging for a response. And then I got to go to Facebook, and Facebook always loves images, so I had to throw an image in there, and I could do 140 characters, but you don't want to go crazy because all your content's at the blog layer, so it's like that's just that's mental gymnastics for me. I'd rather just say, I wrote some cool shit, and I'm going to put a link on my Twitter, and then I can go and focus on the stuff that's really making sense, like working with my investors and, investing in my teams, and engineering cool products, I don't know. Just take a mental, second just to think of how much time you waste. It's epic. It's embarrassing. It's shameful. So, just choose like one or two, and if you're super awesome, maybe three, but it's just not for me. Great question.
What prompted your first blog?
A girl. Right. Quite literally. My first active CMS was on Zanga. Who remembers Zanga? Yeah. Zanga. You know what's so crazy is they went out of business. They Kickstarted, they crowdfunded, and they migrated all of their systems to WordPress. Now, so Zanga's on WordPress, which is very interesting. But my girlfriend at the time signed me up for Zanga, and my first post was, WTF, what is this? Because I was uploading HTML files, I'm like, I don't need this. Well, holy shit, I don't need to upload anything. Oh. I still have those archives back from 2002. May 6, 2002, my first functional CMS-like-ish blog post. That was an epic day. Yeah.
Personal versus business content. What big breakdown percentage-wise between personal posts and business-related posts on your personal blog?
That's a good question. I don't know. I couldn't give you a figure because, I don't know. This is business-related. This is business-related. This is personal, I guess, but it's talking about one of the products I'm building. That's just my Karma Wi-Fi hotspot I was fucking with. This application is so personal, so it's hard. The lines blur, I guess. I'm talking about random.do domains, Lego lessons for life. I don't know.
So you talk more about work, right?
Like I'm teaching my 7-year-old Ruby on Rails. That was personal, but also work related again. This is really cool. Rails is an incredibly literal language. For a 7-year-old, you don't need to know a lick of code, but you could probably guess in probably 3 strikes at least. If you said, if I typed in John.reverse, I bet you could guess what that does. And so I said, hey, Rowan, what is Rowan.reverse? Let's type that in. And she's just like,
success. Doing code. You did a bit. Now see how the answer popped out. Ruby recognizes numbers, the mathematics symbols. You can try other math like 4 star 10, 5 minus 12, 4 / 40 / 4. Okay. Beginning. Okay, so
it's like, but I'm talking about like work and stuff, Ruby on Rails is awesome. Like, The 7-year-old can do it. So the breakdown, I don't know, but I don't think it's important, right? I think people, they're reading you because you're a fascinating person, and you bring a very personal approach to everything that you do. It's probably one of the most endearing, as my wife says, endearing qualities about my writing is that it's just personal all the time. You know, I don't create this veiled professional stance, you know. I'm not sure if that's always good, but you know, it works for me. It's a good question. I don't have an answer.
Did you ever go through a phase when you tried to do the veiled professional stance model? Because I know for me, when I first started trying to blog, it was always through my business, and I was this cool agency, and I would post these agency facade things, and I was just there's no way to keep that up. And then once I finally switched to personal domain and just writing by myself, it was much better. So I was curious if you went through anything similar.
I think I've definitely gone through, especially in the corporate environment where I wanted to keep my job generally. So I created some sort of persona, but how exhausting is that? How exhausting is it to create a characterization of yourself all the time? It's just too exhausting. So I decided very early on that it's hard enough to write, because writing is an art. And for those who are artists and creative individuals, one of the most offensive things someone could ever say to an artist or a creative is, "Wow, it must get easier the better you get." That's the big fuck you. You have no idea what true art is, because art is intrinsically difficult all the time. It's laborious. It's painstaking. Great art is not supposed to be easy. And so after even 13 years of writing, it's still fucking hard. But then you have to add this layer of professionalism, this curtain and veiled construct, and it's just that's just so much. That's a headache. You know what I'm saying? But I have struggled with it for sure. Any other questions?
Well, you said you were doing at some point 9 posts a day. Do you do a lot of shorter posts or longer posts? You said you ones 8,000 words.
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the coolest things I've learned over time is that as an artist, and as all of you are artists in many different ways, you evolve, you change, and so your writing changes. There were points in my life where I only wrote over 5,000 words per post, and now, it's just between 300 and 500 or something, and occasionally maybe 3,000, and there are seasons and ebbs and flows, and so I can't tell you what is better. I know Google likes 300 words or more. I'll just kind of let that sit right there. But outside of that, it's you just do what feels comfortable. The moment it becomes a chore, which in many ways it will be for a while, you should quit. There should be some intrinsic internal drive that says that this is of value to me, even though, I don't like it all the time. I don't like being a parent all the time. I love my kids, but sometimes they're a fucking mess. I don't like marriage all the time, but I love my wife. Yes. So great question though. I hate looking at my own blog. Let's look at that. Any other questions? Yeah.
You're choosing a name, say you go to WordPress and you have to figure out a name for your blog. I mean, would you just recommend that we go around the internet and use our own name, or is there an advantage of doing that versus something else?
Yeah, so this is where an incredible amount of cognitive dissonance becomes a part of the equation. And so my answer is going to try to remove that dissonance. The answer is whatever can get you to hit the publish button faster is the solution. Because here's why. The internet, by definition, is iterative. And you are, as a person, iterative. it is okay for you to rebrand 1,000 times over and never stop, continuing to rebrand. The world doesn't really care. That's why when you look at my blog, like I'm using the default WordPress theme, like for my style. I have tens of thousands of readers. They don't give a shit what my blog looks like. But how many of you have wrestled, literally toiled over the design of your blog? That's tragedy. Because that's not why you write. You're not writing for the visual aesthetic, which becomes dull after the 10th time you visit it. This audience is coming because you have something to say, right? The art is the words, not the theme. And I think it's so funny that the industry of theming is becoming so big when it's not that big of a deal. It's a travesty. So same thing. It doesn't really matter what the domain is. Choose your name, start with it, see how you feel. In 3 months, if you hate it, change it. And that's okay. In fact, you're more in line with the way the world works than someone who never changes. You're an artist, so be an artist. Great question. Any other questions?
This is maybe slightly off topic, but it involved writing. I noticed that you put out maybe a couple of different ebooks. Can you talk about writing blog posts versus writing ebooks and like how you've done that or what caused you to do that?
Yeah, so I've written a couple ebooks. I'm not necessarily proud of them because they're simply my content edited in an ebook format. I mean, it's made a lot of money. I mean, I'll be honest. Like most of the major series, I've codified into a PDF ebook format and sold it from $9 to $39. And I've sold a lot of those, and it's always funny because I'm like, well, like, this is free, right? But in America, choice is king over quality. I don't want Burger King. I want McDonald's or Wendy's or Chick-fil-A or Zaxby's. Choice is always more important than quality in America. So it's like you just give people options and they spend their money. It's just the strangest thing. So to that regard, it's not any different because I've just regurgitated my blog posts onto printable format. Shameless, but it worked. But for those who are looking to seriously ebook stuff, you could probably do 1,000 times better than me and probably be more successful. I just did it because I thought it was cool. And if you want them, you can have them for free. I'm telling you now, the content is already there for free. But if you'd like a copy of these PDFs, I will give them to you. It's of no consequence to me. One of the most powerful principles that my father taught me 3 incredible principles. 1, never give up. 2, always have options. 3, one of the most powerful is it never hurts to ask. And I've watched my father leverage that from, a individual contributor all the way up to a Fortune 50 CEO. But the most poignant moment was when he was standing in line at Publix, or Acme, I guess, because I grew up in New Jersey. And he says he's walking up the line at area. I was 6 years old, and he's checking out, and he looks at the gal. She was a little bit older in age, and I'm a twin. And he goes, "Now you have to have a twin discount. This is at the supermarket." And she just laughs and smiles, and he's like, and especially for 2 cute Asian twins. And this is a big grin, he's joking, and she goes, "Okay." And I don't know what she discounted it, and he just laughs, and he might have saved it $1 or something. But I will never forget that. And especially as an entrepreneur now, it's it never hurts to ask. It really doesn't. And so I have made more money by just simply asking for it. I did a Kickstarter project last year for the iOS app, which then I did a follow-on round for VC, and that's asking people for money. I raised $56,500 for that iOS app, and that's proof positive that asking doesn't hurt. So powerful stuff. Any more questions?
Who are some other bloggers that you like reading?
I really like Seth Godin because he's short, and anything long form blinds me. And I think he has mastered the art of short form impact. So Seth Godin's pretty legit. He's really the only. There's a bunch of other entrepreneurs that I read on occasion, and that's more of kind of industry information. I have like a digital IV to like The Verge and TechCrunch and all those other ones, all the big ones, VentureBeat. But I think I don't frequent my RSS reader that often. Anyone addicted to RSS here? That's good because it's fairly worthless. The internet respects those who do, not those who read. It's a principle of the medium. No one gives a shit how many reads you had today in your RSS reader. They wonder what product you built today, what you shipped. So a few years ago, I declared bankruptcy and said, I just need to build a product. Like, people who are reading RSS and blogs, and not that it's bad, I'm being somewhat facetious, but people who are spending more time reading blogs and less time building cool shit, those people are not going anywhere. If I can say that lightly. I love all of you, just to make sure. Especially you, internet. There's a camera over there, so I'm not pointing at some ghost. Great question. Anything else? Do I advertise my blog or? Monetize. Yes, I have a couple series on Goodies that goes through monetization of a blog, and again, I experimented 1 year and made about $50-something thousand. You can make a lot of money. Now I don't. It's not a revenue stream that is necessary for me and my family, and it's just a hassle. Like managing stock units and optimizing for click-throughs and CTRs and CPMs. I know it sounds lame. That's not worth $50,000 of my time, but it honestly is not. I've got 2 venture-funded companies and over 40 portfolio companies I have to manage. And those guys are making some serious cash. So I don't need to do that. But you can. You can make a lot of money.
I just had people mention to me, everyone put your ad on your website. I'm like, my personal website.
Yeah. They're just trying to get some traffic, I guess. Any other questions? Well, I appreciate it, guys. I apologize I was not as prepared, but I'm not sure if it would have been any better. But thanks for letting me hang out with you guys for a little bit of time. I'm very available. My email is just john@yarnyard.com, and I will respond. I will read every email, and I will respond. So if you have any questions about this or life or whatever, I will read it. I do not guarantee that I would respond, but I will read it. So thanks so much.